Welcome again. This is part 4 of lesson 3, the decision-making lesson. In part 3 of this lesson, we discussed helping Selena pick out a phone plan. And we finally found 5 different phone plans, and we were able to eliminate 2 of them just because they were a little too pricey. So we had 3 different phone plans for you to decide which one would be best for Selena and her family. At this point, this activity should be completed. You should have decided on a phone plan for Selena and written down a few reasons why you chose that phone plan. And that really takes us through the decision-making process as best as we can do it now. So we've gone through, we've defined the goal, we established our criteria, the things that this phone plan needed to have. We chose three good options: T-Mobile, Sprint with the 12 gigs, and Verizon, the large plan. We definitely identified the pros and cons of this as well, looking at the fact that most of them, con-wise, were more than our budget, but we couldn't find what we needed within our budget. A pro, anything that has to do with talk and text, that was a pro. Some of them had extra features. Those are also pros that come with each of these plans. And when we finished the last lesson, you decided which plan you thought was best and gave a few reasons why you thought that plan was best. Now, when we look at the decide analogy, we have to do, the last step is to evaluate the results. Now, in our case, because this is just an example, it's very difficult to evaluate our results and say what worked well and what didn't work well. But there are still some things that we can look at and decide what we could do better the next time that we're looking for a cell phone plan. One of the things that we could probably do better is looking at the budgeting portion of our cell phone plans. Now, we decided that we wanted to get a cell phone plan that was about $120, but as you can see, a cell phone plan for 4 family members, the cheapest one that we could find was $140. So the next time that we go through, we'll better understand how much money we need to set aside for cell phone plans, and then be able to decide from there what is a good option. Another thing that Selena and her family can evaluate after they've had these cell phone plans for a good amount of time is how much data they really needed. We discussed the fact that T-Mobile was unlimited, but the Sprint had 12 gigabytes of data. Verizon had 8 gigabytes plus 2 extra lines, so that was about 16 gigabytes per month. As the family uses their data more often, they're going to get into a pretty good routine about how much data they need to use per month. So they might be able to edit their plan the next time that they look for a cell phone plan, depending on how much data they use. If they don't use as much data as they're paying for right now, their next cell phone plan can be a lot smaller. Or maybe they're using too much data for the plan that you chose, and maybe they need to go to a larger plan next time. So that's something that they'll be able to evaluate as well. After Selena and her family have had this cell phone plan, they'll also be able to evaluate how much coverage that each provider offers them. So there's 3 different companies: T-Mobile, Sprint, and Verizon, and each of them cover a different area. So they have different amounts of service depending on where you live. So if you live in a very rural area away from the city where there's not a lot of people, one of these companies might do a better job giving you cell service than another one. This isn't so much a big deal now as it was maybe 10 years ago. I remember I lived in a very rural town where in order for me to get cell service and send a text message to a friend, I would have to stick my arm out of the bathroom window so I could send my text message. Literally, that's what I had to do. So in the past few years, there have been more cell towers coming up, and so that is not as big of an issue, but there are still some what we call dead spots in some rural areas. So if Selena and her family live in a city, cell phone coverage might not be as big of a deal and not something that they really need to evaluate. But if they are more of rural folks and they live out more where there's farms and less people, cell phone coverage is huge. If they don't get cell phone coverage from their company, then that's probably not the best choice for them. There were just 3 examples of how Selena and her family could evaluate the results, but there are numerous different ways that after you've made a decision, how you can evaluate your results. All right, now you've seen 2 different scenarios and how to use the decision-making plan. So you've seen the scenario in your student guide where Selena has to choose a cell phone. We've worked through the scenario where she has been asked to create a cell phone plan for her family. Now that you've kind of become an expert on the decision-making process, I want to see how you would work through a major decision, like buying a car. So we're going to follow the decide steps to compare some car options. In your notebook, you should have a page titled Task Decide on a Car. It looks very similar to the page that is on the screen before you. The directions say that we are going to devise or create a real or invented reason to purchase a new or used car. Perhaps your family is planning to buy a car, or you need a reliable transportation to get to work or class at another school campus. Practice using the decide steps to work through the process of choosing a car that will best meet the needs for this situation. So buying a car is a huge life decision. It's also a very big accomplishment as well. I just purchased my first car this past year, and I went through a very similar decision process when I chose which car I was going to buy and how I was going to pay for it. So when we go through the decide steps, we're going to go right through following from the first step on this page, and the very first thing that you have to do when you decide to purchase a car is figure out what your goal is and why do you need a car. So when I purchased my car, I needed a car. My old car that my parents had let me borrow was dying. It had high mileage and it was in the shop every other week, and it was just becoming a very costly car and not something that was very reliable. So the very first thing that you need to do is define your goal. What is your purpose for having your car? Remember, when you create a goal, it should be a SMART goal. Again, if you don't remember the SMART goal process, look on page 40. It has the goal setting process as well as the decide steps laid out there for you. So the very first thing that you should do is create a goal for yourself. Once you've created your goal that is specific and measurable and attainable and relevant and time-bound, then you can go on to the next step. So again, this isn't a Word document, so yours does not move like mine does, but you'll have this next part. Step 2 says to establish your criteria. What are the features that you absolutely must have, and which ones would you just like to have in a car? So within this text box, they've given you 8 different options. The directions that they've given you are a little bit different than I want you to do. They say that you have to check some things off. But if you look at each of these lines, there's an option for 2 different things. I want you to underline the item that you feel would be best to have. If you really feel like this is a must-have, then you can check this. But if it's just something that you would prefer, then you don't have to check the box. Okay, so for instance, would you prefer a new or a used car? Now, when I buy cars, I actually prefer to get them used. So I would underline the used. And for me, it's not necessarily a must-have. If I would love to have a nice car and a brand new car. So I'm not going to check this, but I would probably get a used car. It's what I can afford. All right, the next part is talking about the size of your vehicle. Do you want a 2-door that's more of like a sporty vehicle, or a 4-door, which is more family oriented? When I purchased a car, I purchased a 4-door car, a 4-door vehicle. It allowed me to get more access. I didn't really, if I wanted to bring people in the back seat of my car, I didn't want them to have to climb through the front seat. So if I was choosing a car right now, I would be underlining the 4-door. Then we talk about compact vehicles, which give you better gas mileage, or larger capacity vehicles like a truck, which has a lower gas mileage. Even SUVs have a lower gas mileage than other vehicles. I bought a Toyota Prius. That is a compact car. I really like it because it's got really great gas mileage. I travel 30 miles to and from work. And so the better gas mileage, the more I'm saving in gas. So I would underline compact vehicle. Again, this is just what I would do. I want you to make sure that you are choosing what would be beneficial for you and what suits what criteria you need to fulfill your goal. Manual or automatic transmission. Well, manual is like that stick shift where you have the clutch and you have to manually change from one gear to another. I can't drive a manual car. So this, I would underline automatic, and this is something that I would check. This is a must-have for me. I must have an automatic car because I can't drive a manual car. The next part is really fun. I like this option. It's talking about sound system. What do you need in your car sound-wise? Is it just a minimal sound system okay with a radio, a CD player, and basic speakers? Or do you want an enhanced sound system with satellite radio and a CG changer and high-quality speakers, and maybe you could even put like a DVD player in there? What do you want? Now, I'm okay with a minimal sound system as long as I can play the CD, maybe have a radio, as long as I could play my phone in my car. I love to play Pandora on my way to school. So that might be something that I would type over here. Can't type into it, but that's what I would do. The next option says high trade-in value or it doesn't matter. So once you're done with your car, do you want to sell it in for a lot of money, or are you just happy to get, a couple bucks for your car? You've run it to the ground. So once you're done with your car, what do you want to happen? For me, this doesn't really matter. It's not a must-have. And the last part, which is very important, is the top price you would pay for a car. Now, cars can range anywhere from, a used car could be $3,000. Might not be the most reliable, but you could get a car for $3,000, to a brand new car being anywhere from $20,000 to $60,000, or even more if you want a really, really nice car. So this is a must-have. You must have something in here. For my Toyota Prius, I bought it 5 years old. It had 90,000 miles, and I paid about $11,500 for it. So just to give you an idea, my used vehicle that was 5 years old with under 100,000 miles, I paid about $11,000 for it. Any additional options that you want: heated seats, an automatic starter, sunroof, car seats that are automatic, you can type them in here. I wish that I had an automatic car starter. They're really expensive. They're like $700 to put into a vehicle, but I would love them. Heated seats would be nice if I can afford it. All right, so those are some options that you can add in there as well. I'm not sure I mentioned basic warranty or extended warranty. For some reason it got clicked. That's okay. I would suggest a basic warranty. A basic warranty is about 3 to 5 years or 100,000 miles, whichever comes first. An extended warranty lasts for 10 years, but it doesn't always cover everything that you'd expect a warranty to cover. And that means that when your car breaks down, the company will fix it and you don't have to pay out of your pocket. I don't know why that's checked. I'm actually going to uncheck it. But one thing that I am going to check is a compact vehicle. So I said that I love my compact vehicle with good gas mileage. That is a must-have for me. It might not be for you, but for me, I need a compact vehicle. All right, here comes the really fun part. Now we've selected our criteria, what is good for us for our goal. Now you get to go research 2 or 3 really good options. So I'm going to give you 3 websites that you can use to search for a car, and then use those options to choose which would be the best vehicle for you. So the 3 websites I have for you are Kelley Blue Book, which you go to kbb.com, or edmunds.com, or cars.com, which is cars.com. These are 3 websites that I used when I researched a car. It's where many people go to figure out if this is a good value. So your job is to find 3 different cars, describe them, car A, car B, car C, write their cost for car A, car B, car C, and then down at the bottom, write down their features. keep in mind that if these cars don't have your must-have options, then you probably shouldn't choose a car that doesn't have that. All right, so this could take some time, and that's fine. That's going to conclude this part of the lesson. Right now I want you to go use these 3 websites to find 3 cars that you feel would be a good option for your car purchase.